The day my father left, I stopped believing in promises. 15 years later, he came back, older, broken, holding the same photograph we once took before he left. He said he wanted forgiveness, but forgiveness doesn't rebuild birthdays missed or memories lost. It doesn't fix a boy who learned to raise himself. Still, as I looked at him, I saw not the man who left, but the man trying to return. Hear this. Some people say time heals all wounds. They're wrong. Time just teaches you how to walk with the limp, how to smile around the scar tissue, how to build a life on foundations made of absence. My father left on a Tuesday morning when I was 7 years old. No warning. No explanation. Just the sound of gravel under tires and my mother's sobs echoing through our small house. For 15 years, I learned to be a man without him. I learned to tie my own ties, to shake hands firmly, to stand tall when every part of me wanted to collapse. And then one day, my phone buzzed with a message from the ghost who raised me to stop believing in promises. He wanted to come back. He wanted forgiveness. But you can't forgive what you've spent a lifetime trying to forget. Welcome to my Reddit diaries, where every story reveals the unseen battles within families. Don't forget to subscribe and tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? I remember the morning he left like it happened yesterday. October 12th. I was 7 years old, sitting at the kitchen table eating cereal that had gone soggy because I kept staring out the window instead of eating. My father walked past me carrying a duffel bag, the green canvas one he used for camping trips. I thought that's where he was going. Camping. Maybe fishing. He did that sometimes. Dad, can I come? He stopped. I remember that pause, the way his shoulders stiffened like someone had poured concrete down his spine. He didn't turn around. Not this time, buddy. Those were the last words he said to me. Not this time. Like there would be a next time. Like next time was a promise he intended to keep. I watched him through the window. He threw the bag in the back of his pickup truck, climbed into the driver's seat, and sat there for what felt like forever. I pressed my hand against the glass, waiting for him to look back. He never did. The engine started. The truck rolled down the driveway. My mother came running out of the house in her bathrobe, barefoot on the cold concrete, screaming his name. He didn't stop. The truck turned the corner and disappeared, and my mother collapsed on the driveway like someone had cut her strings. I kept eating my cereal. I didn't understand. I thought he'd be back by dinner. He wasn't back by dinner. He wasn't back the next day, or the day after that. A week passed. Then a month. Then a year. My mother never spoke about him. If I asked where Dad was, she'd get this look in her eyes like she was seeing something far away and terrible, and she'd say, "He's gone, baby. He's just gone." I learned to stop asking. The years that followed taught me lessons no kid should have to learn. I learned that fathers are optional. I learned that you can't rely on anyone but yourself. I learned how to tie a tie by watching YouTube videos the night before my first school dance, standing in front of the bathroom mirror for 2 hours until my fingers remembered the movements. I learned how to shave by trial and error, how to change a tire because our car broke down and my mother was crying too hard to call anyone for help. I learned that empty chairs at graduations leave shadows that photographs can never fill. My mother worked herself into exhaustion. 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She was a ghost in her own house, always leaving before I woke up, coming home after I'd gone to bed. But she made sure I had everything I needed. New shoes when mine wore out. School supplies. A college fund she built dollar by dollar. She gave me everything except the one thing I wanted most, an explanation for why the man who was supposed to love me chose to disappear instead. I became good at pretending it didn't matter. I told myself I didn't need him. I built walls so high that no one could see the 7-year-old boy still pressed against the window, waiting for a truck that would never come back. By the time I turned 22, I'd made something of myself despite him. I graduated with a degree in architecture. Got a job at a small firm in the city. Rented my own apartment, a studio with exposed brick and windows that overlooked the street. I was proud of what I'd built. Every blueprint I drew, every building I helped design, felt like proof that I didn't need him. That I'd become a man in spite of his absence, not because of his presence. Then the text message came. It was a Tuesday evening. I was sitting on my couch with takeout going cold in front of me, sketching ideas for a community center project. My phone buzzed. A known number. I almost didn't check it. Spam calls and random messages were part of life. But something made me look. The message said, "It's Dad. I'm in town. I need to see you. Please." I stared at those words for so long the screen went dark. My hand was shaking. I unlocked the phone again. Read it 3 more times. "It's Dad." Like that meant something. Like he had any right to call himself that after 15 years of silence. Below the text was an attachment. A photograph. I opened it. It was us. The 2 of us at a carnival, maybe 3 weeks before he left. I was sitting on his shoulders, gap-toothed smile stretched across my face, holding a blue cotton candy bigger than my head. He was looking up at me, laughing, one hand gripping my ankle to keep me steady. We looked happy. We looked like a family. The photo was creased and faded, like it had been folded and unfolded 1,000 times. I set the phone down. Picked it up again. I must have sat there for 3 hours, staring at that picture, trying to reconcile the smiling man in the photograph with the ghost who abandoned me. Rage and curiosity battled inside my chest. Part of me wanted to block the number and never think about him again. But another part, the part that was still 7 years old and pressed against the window, needed answers. Needed to understand why. Against every rational thought screaming at me to let it go, I typed back, "When and where?" His response came immediately. "Mel's Diner. Route 9. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Thank you." I called my mother. She needed to know. When I told her, the silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "Mom. Don't." Her voice was hard. 15 years hard. "Don't let him hurt you again. I just need to know why." "Why doesn't matter. He left. That's all you need to know." "It matters to me." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "If you do this, you do it knowing he doesn't deserve your time. He doesn't deserve your forgiveness. He doesn't deserve you." The line went dead. I didn't sleep that night. I kept looking at the photograph, trying to remember what it felt like to be that kid on his father's shoulders, believing the world was safe because strong hands held you steady. I couldn't remember. That feeling was gone, replaced by the weight of 15 years of wondering if I'd done something wrong. If I'd been the reason he left. If I hadn't been enough to make him stay. The next evening, I drove to Mel's Diner. It was one of those old-school places with cracked red vinyl booths and a jukebox that probably hadn't worked since the 90s. I arrived early. Ordered coffee I didn't drink. Sat in a corner booth where I could see the door. Every time it opened, my heart stopped. False alarms. Wrong people. Not him. Then the door chimed. A man walked in. Older. Thinner. Gray streaking through hair that used to be dark. He moved with a limp, one hand gripping a cane. But his eyes, when they found mine across the diner, were the same eyes I remembered. The same eyes that looked away the morning he left. He stood there in the doorway, frozen. In his free hand, he clutched the same photograph. His face, God, his face looked like it was being torn apart from the inside. Like seeing me hurt him physically. He walked over. Slowly. Every step deliberate, like he was walking to his own execution. He stopped at my booth. We stared at each other. 15 years of silence pressed between us like a wall neither of us knew how to break. "Can I sit?" I didn't answer. I just gestured to the seat across from me. He slid in, setting the cane against the table, placing the photograph face up between us. His hands were shaking. I noticed that. Tremors running through his fingers like electricity. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The diner noise faded into background static, waitresses calling orders, the hiss of the grill, silverware on plates. None of it mattered. There was only him and me and 15 years of abandoned questions. I gripped my coffee cup so hard I thought it might shatter. When I finally spoke, my voice came out cold and flat. "You have 15 minutes. Start talking." He opened his mouth. Closed it. His hands trembled harder against the table. Finally, he said the two words I'd been waiting 15 years to hear. "I'm sorry." I laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. "Sorry? You disappear for 15 years and you lead with sorry? I know it's not enough. Sorry isn't an explanation. It's not a reason. It's what you say when you step on someone's foot, not when you abandon your kid and let him grow up wondering what the hell he did wrong." He flinched like I'd struck him. But I wanted him to hurt. I wanted him to feel a fraction of what I'd felt standing at that window, watching his truck disappear. "You didn't do anything wrong. This was never about you." Then what was it about? What was so terrible that you had to vanish without a word? Was it another woman? Death? Prison? What? He reached into his jacket pocket with shaking hands and pulled out a prescription bottle. Set it on the table between us next to the photograph. I looked at the label. Carbidopa levodopa. The name meant nothing to me. 3 months before I left, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Early onset. I was 32 years old. The words hung in the air. I stared at him, trying to process what he'd just said. Parkinson's. The tremors made sense now. The cane. The way he moved like every step required conscious effort. "You left because you were sick?" I was drowning. The medical bills started piling up. I'd taken out loans I couldn't pay back, maxed out credit cards your mother didn't know about. The tremors were getting worse. I dropped things at work. Couldn't hold tools steady. I got fired. And the doctors, they told me what was coming. The progression. How I'd eventually need full-time care. How I'd become a burden. "So you decided to become an absence instead?" "I thought I was protecting you. Both of you. I thought if I left, you wouldn't have to watch me deteriorate. You wouldn't have to see me lose myself piece by piece. You'd remember me as I was, not as what I was going to become." I felt rage building in my chest like a pressure cooker about to explode. You thought abandoning a 7-year-old was mercy? You thought leaving mom to raise me alone while working herself to death was protection? I was wrong. Wrong? You were a coward. You didn't leave to protect us. You left because you were terrified. Because you couldn't handle being vulnerable. So you made a choice that destroyed us so you wouldn't have to face your own fear. Tears ran down his face. He didn't wipe them away. People at other tables were starting to look. I didn't care. 15 years of suppressed fury was pouring out of me like poison from a wound. You robbed me of a father. You robbed me of every birthday, every graduation, every moment I needed you and you weren't there. Do you know what it's like to learn how to be a man with no blueprint? To teach yourself everything because the one person who was supposed to show you chose to disappear. I know I can't fix it. You're damn right you can't fix it. You can't give me back those years. You can't undo the damage. I'm not asking you to forget. Then what are you asking? He looked at me with eyes that held more pain than I'd ever seen in another human being. I'm asking you to let me explain. To let me tell you what happened. You don't have to forgive me. But you deserve to know the truth. I should have left. I should have walked out and never looked back. But that 7-year-old kid inside me, the one who still pressed his hand against the window, needed to hear this. Needed to understand. Talk. He told me everything. How the diagnosis came like a bomb in his life. How he'd hidden it from everyone, trying to handle it alone. How the debt mounted until he was stealing from savings just to pay minimum payments on credit cards. How he'd wake up at night in panic attacks, convinced he was going to drag us down with him. How one morning he convinced himself that the kindest thing he could do was remove himself from the equation. I packed that bag thinking I'd be gone for a few weeks. Just long enough to figure things out. But days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, and the longer I stayed away, the harder it became to come back. How do you come back from that? How do you knock on the door and say sorry for destroying everything? So you just didn't. I didn't. And every day I hated myself more for it. Every birthday I missed. Every milestone. I'd see kids your age and wonder what you looked like, who you'd become. I kept tabs on you. From a distance. I know that doesn't make it right. You watched me grow up? He pulled out his phone, scrolled through photos. Pictures of me. My high school graduation, taken from far back in the crowd where I wouldn't have seen him. A newspaper clipping about a design award I'd won. A photo of me outside my apartment building that made my skin crawl. You've been stalking me? I've been loving you the only way I knew how. From far enough away that I couldn't hurt you again. But you are hurting me. Right now. This whole conversation is pain. I know. And I'm sorry for that too. But I needed to tell you why I came back. Something in his tone made my blood run cold. Why did you come back? He placed both hands flat on the table. They shook violently beyond his control. The Parkinson's is progressing faster than expected. I have maybe 6 months. A year if I'm lucky. The diner spun. 6 months. He came back because he was dying. You came back to say goodbye. I came back to give you a choice. For 15 years, I took your choices away. I decided what was best for you without asking. This time, you get to decide. You can tell me to leave and never contact you again. You can hate me. You have every right. But I couldn't die without giving you the chance to forgive me or condemn me to my face. You deserve that much. I sat there thinking. Everything I'd imagined about this confrontation, all the things I'd rehearsed saying, evaporated. He wasn't here to ease his conscience. He was here to give me something I didn't know I needed. Closure. The power he'd stolen from me 15 years ago. I don't know if I can forgive you. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking if you'll let me try to earn it. I looked at the photograph on the table. The two of us, frozen in a moment of pure happiness that felt like it belonged to different people entirely. I thought about my mother's warning. About the walls I'd built. About the man I'd become in his absence. I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering if I should have tried. The words came out before I could stop them. His face transformed. Hope, painful and desperate, flickered in his eyes. What does that mean? I took a breath. It means you get your chance. But forgiveness isn't a given. You'll have to prove you've changed. And if you hurt me again, there won't be a third time. Understood? He nodded, tears streaming freely now. Understood. I stood up, dropped cash on the table for coffee I never drank. I need time to process this. I'll call you when I'm ready. As I walked toward the door, he called out. Thank you. For listening. For giving me this chance. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Because if I did, he'd see that the same tears running down his face were running down mine too. The next 3 days I didn't leave my apartment. I called in sick to work, ignored my girlfriend's texts, and sat on my couch staring at that photograph until I'd memorized every detail. The crease down the middle. The faded colors. The ghost of who we used to be. On the 4th day, I called him. We met at a park where we used to play catch when I was a kid. The grass was overgrown now, the baseball diamond abandoned. He was sitting on a bench when I arrived, that same cane resting beside him. I talked to Mom, I said, sitting down but keeping distance between us. She's not happy about this. I wouldn't expect her to be. She said you don't deserve my time. That you don't deserve forgiveness. She's right. Maybe. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me. Because carrying this anger for the rest of my life is killing me just as much as Parkinson's is killing you. He turned to look at me. What do you need from me? Honesty. Complete honesty. No more secrets. No more running. If we're doing this, we do it real. Okay. And you meet Mom. Face to face. You owe her that. He paled. I don't think she'll want to see me. She doesn't. But you're going to sit in a room with her and apologize for every single thing you put her through. Not for your sake. For hers. He nodded slowly. When? When I'm ready to be in the same room with both of you without losing my mind. Over the following weeks, we started rebuilding something. Not what we had before. That was gone, buried with the 7-year-old version of me. This was different. Fragile. Two strangers learning each other from scratch. He told me about the 15 years. How he'd lived in different cities, working odd jobs under the table because he couldn't hold steady employment with his condition worsening. How he'd slept in his truck some nights, shelters others. How he'd kept that photograph in his pocket every single day, pulling it out whenever the guilt became unbearable. I told him about my life. About the YouTube videos that taught me to tie ties. About Mom's exhaustion. About the empty chair at graduation that everyone pretended not to notice. About the walls I'd built so high I'd forgotten what it felt like to trust anyone completely. I made you like this, he said one afternoon. We were sitting in my apartment. I'd finally brought him there, shown him the space I'd built for myself. I made you afraid to trust. You contributed. But I'm also the one who chose to keep those walls up. That's on me. I'm sorry I made that feel necessary. The words were getting easier to hear. They still hurt but differently now. Less like knives, more like old bruises being pressed. The meeting with Mom happened on a Saturday. I arranged it at her house, the same house we'd lived in when he left. She agreed only because I begged her. When he walked through that door, I watched her face turn to stone. Sarah, he said. Just her name. Nothing else. Don't. Her voice could have cut glass. Don't you dare say my name like you have any right to it. I don't have any right to anything. But I need to say this. I need you to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want your excuses. They're not excuses. They're explanations. And apologies. For making you raise our son alone. For the nights you cried yourself to sleep. For the jobs you worked until your hands bled. For every single moment I should have been there and wasn't. She stood there, arms crossed, tears streaming down her face. You destroyed us. You know that? You destroyed our family because you were too weak to face your own mortality. I know. You made our son believe he wasn't worth staying for. That hit him like a physical blow. He actually stumbled backward. I know. And I'll regret that until the day I die. Which is coming soon, isn't it? That's why you're really here. Not for him. For yourself. So you can die with a clean conscience. No. I'm here because he deserves better than the coward who left him. Even if better is just an explanation and an apology. Even if he hates me forever. He deserves that. Mom looked at me. You're really doing this? You're really letting him back in? I'm trying. I don't know if I can forgive him. But I know I can't move forward carrying this weight. She shook her head, wiping tears with the back of her hand. I can't forgive him. I won't. But I won't stand between you two either. You're a grown man. You make your own choices. That was the closest she'd come to giving her blessing. It would have to be enough. The months that followed were the strangest of my life. I helped my father with doctor's appointments. Watched his condition deteriorate in real time. The tremors got worse. He started needing the cane more frequently. Some days his words slurred together. But we kept talking. Kept rebuilding. One afternoon, he asked if we could go back to the carnival. The same one from the photograph. It was still there, renovated but recognizable. We walked through it together, him leaning heavily on his cane, me adjusting my pace to match his. Can we take a picture? He asked. I found someone willing to help. We stood together, his hand on my shoulder this time instead of me on his. The photo captured something true. Two men, damaged and scarred, but trying. It wasn't the same as the original. It couldn't be. But it was honest. 3 months later, I got the call. He'd been moved to hospice. The progression had accelerated. He had days, maybe a week. I went immediately. He looked small in that hospital bed. Diminished. Nothing like the man who'd carried me on his shoulders. But his eyes, when they found mine, were clear. Hey, buddy. Hey, Dad. We got into that place. Where Dad didn't feel like a lie anymore. I need to tell you something, he said. His voice was weak, but steady. I'm proud of you. Of the man you became. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help you become him. But I'm so damn proud. My throat closed. You're here now. That counts for something. Does it? Yeah. It does. He died 2 days later. I was holding his hand. His last words were barely a whisper. Thank you. For the second chance. The funeral was small. Mom came but stood apart. My girlfriend held my hand. A few people from hospice. I gave a eulogy that I'd written at 3 in the morning, unable to sleep, needing to get the words right. I told the truth. About the abandonment. About the pain. But also about the return. About second chances and how forgiveness isn't erasing the past, it's choosing not to let the past erase your future. I displayed both photographs. Before and after. Then and now. Months later, I visit his grave regularly. I bring flowers. Sometimes I bring the photographs. I tell him about my life, about Mom slowly softening, about the walls I'm learning to take down brick by brick. Standing there in the cemetery, I realize something. My father left me when I was 7. He came back when I was 22. The years between are gone forever. But those final 6 months taught me something crucial. Forgiveness isn't about the person who hurt you. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of carrying that hurt. My father was broken, flawed, human. He made a choice that devastated me. But in the end, he tried to make it right. And I chose to let him try. Not because he deserved it, but because I deserved to stop carrying anger like a stone in my chest. I don't know if I fully forgave him. Maybe forgiveness isn't binary. Maybe it's something you work toward every day, choosing peace over resentment, understanding over rage. But I know this. When I walk away from his grave toward my car, toward my life, I feel lighter. The 7-year-old boy pressed against the window is finally at peace. Not because his father came back, but because I chose to let go of waiting for him. And maybe that's enough. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and join the My Reddit Diaries family. I share real stories about real struggles every week. Drop a comment telling me what you thought and where in the world you're watching from. Until next time, remember that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing to move forward despite the scars.